Why do single farms? Whilst we can enjoy the individuality and comparing and contrasting each one, the ultimate aim is to layer them together to create the most complex single malt whiskey there's ever been. Real provenance is terroir plus traceability and transparency. That's an expensive business.
Plowing it up and putting in a crop of spring barley, and might put in for 2 years into oats for a year, back to grass for 2 to 3 years, and then back into barley. It was traditionally in tillage for the last maybe 20 years before I took it over. I took it over and stayed in conventional tillage for a number of years, and then I took the option to jump into organic.
About 200 kilos a hectare of laureate seed. Here's the seed here. They are just starting to come on there. So these look very healthy.
Yeah, we got in early. We sowed about 78 acres of corn the last week of February up to the 1st of April. I love farming, I love the land, I love growing crops. So I love putting the seed in the ground and watching it germinate. This is Reynier for Waterford distillery. I can't wait. The minute I sow a crop, after 8 days, I'm out there, I'm checking, I'm watching to see is it coming up, is it breaking, just to see it coming up.
When we started cutting there one day last week, well, like every farmer, you probably just go walk through it and bite it with your teeth and you'd have a fair idea. You'd be only a couple of percent out. So after that, we'd probably try and cut a bit and maybe go and get it tested for moisture. It's the first time that anything like this was ever done. Like, I mean, even when this barley leaves here, it goes up to Dalton, but mine 110 or 20 ton it's separate, it's not mixed with anyone else's.
It should be, and I feel very strongly about this, it should be what it said. It should be Irish barley. Not Irish mixed with a bit of something else. No. Irish barley. We have to pay a premium to get good quality malting barley. So that means a very severe selection, entry criteria.
Claudio Riva, Whisky Club Italia, ci risiamo. Allora andiamo in Scozia, andiamo a fare 2 chiacchiere con qualcosa in più di 2 chiacchiere con Marc Reynier, ci spostiamo un po' in giro per il mondo. Marc ci risponde, adesso lo presentiamo, dall'isola di Islay, che è la terra in cui vive per 3 o 4 mesi all'anno allevando mucche delle Highland, quindi se andate verso Port Naeve e vedete delle mucche con le corna a manubrio è molto probabile che siano le sue. Arriva dal mondo del vino, quindi non chiedetegli se conosce bene l'Italia perché chiaramente ci ha fatto tanto business col nostro vino. Si inserisce nel mondo del whisky 20 anni fa, Davide sarà più preciso, con quella gioia di distilleria che conosciamo bene, che è Bruichladdich, in cui inizia a sviluppare quell'interesse verso il mondo del diverso whisky, non le solite cose. Loro si sono definiti progressisti con Bruichladdich. Capita che l'affare Bruichladdich si chiude con una bella vendita che gli dà energia per pensare al futuro che non ha dimensionato su un divano davanti a un televisore, ma sempre impegnato sul campo in Irlanda, e scopriremo, con una piccola parentesi finale, di un progetto su anche i Caraibi che prende forma nelle prossime settimane. Mark, thank you for joining us tonight. Davide, a te la parola, buona serata and Slangeva.
So, welcome Mark, and thanks for joining us. I will not do a literal translation from your words, so I will do a resume so you can speak for a while, and then I will do a short recap for the people are following us. So again, thanks for joining us, and two words about you, then I let you speak. So maybe many people knows you about the project behind the renaissance of Bruichladdich. So you were part of the dream team that took over Lady, that it was probably the weakest distillery on island in that period, and you turn on in something that everyone talks about. But before, let's say, arriving to this, you have a very long background in wine, and then of course you go through the Mara and McDavid independent bottler. But let's talk about a bit your first 20 years in of your career before arriving to whiskey.
I grew up in a wine importing family, a wine business. So this year, 2020, is exactly halfway between 20 years in wine, years in whiskey. And I think this is what gives me a unique position. I've owned a vineyard, I've made wine, I've picked grapes, I've bottled wine, I've shipped wine, I've wholesaled it, I've retailed it. And the mirror is I've retailed whiskey, wholesaled whiskey, bottled whiskey, distilled whiskey, owned a distillery, farmed barley. So the two, my career is exactly at the halfway, 20 years in wine, 20 years in whiskey, and the former mirrors the latter.
Sì, allora gli ho chiesto di parlarci della sua carriera precedente a Bruichladdich, insomma sappiamo tutti che è stato parte del gruppo, del fantastico gruppo che ha trasformato una distilleria che era chiusa e in grossa difficoltà in una distilleria di cui tutti hanno parlato. Gli ho chiesto di parlare quindi dei suoi precedenti anni di carriera. Lui dice che quest'anno festeggia esattamente 40 anni di carriera, 20 spesi nel vino e 20 spesi col whisky, abbastanza speculari, per cui sia nel vino che nel whisky si è occupato di produrre, si è occupato di imbottigliare, si è occupato di vendere, si è occupato di raccolta dell'orzo o del vino, quindi si trova davanti quindi a una carriera allo specchio tra questi due prodotti straordinari. Okay, Mark. So we arrive in the period where Lady was closed and it was owned by a big company. How it turns you out to, let's say, the idea to take over the distillery with this team of people?
Well, the idea was that Murray McDavid buying independent barrels was a great period. It was a fantastic moment. It was the renaissance of single malt whiskey. But it was clear that the stocks available were disappearing. And my thought was, as a wine man, why can't I have a go at distilling? Why can't I do some of the things I know about wine with whiskey, our national drink? And so I started to look for a distillery. It was a bit of a dream. And Bruichladdich, I went to see it, having discovered the whiskey by accident in a blind tasting. And I went to see the distillery, and I was shocked to see the state that it was in. And I resolved at that point to try and buy the distillery. I knew I wouldn't do it. I knew why on earth would they sell it to me? But at least I would feel good that I've had a go. I tried. And so that started a 10-year courtship of me writing to the owners of the distillery, which was White and Mackay, Inver Gordon, and then Jim Beam, trying to persuade them to sell it to me. And on the 10th year, they agreed to sell it to me.
It was 2000, right?
Correct.
Ok, gli ho chiesto a un certo punto come ha fatto, come gli è venuto in mente di comprare con quel gruppo di persone Bruichladdich, e dice che fondamentalmente è stato un caso che abbia scoperto la distilleria. Comunque lui aveva cominciato già con l'imbottigliatore indipendente Mare McDavid, era un momento eccezionale per la rinascita del whisky. C'è riuscito a comprare la distilleria nel 2000, ma il corteggiamento è nato 10 anni prima. Lui l'aveva visitata e era rimasto abbastanza scioccato dallo stato di come era messa, insomma. Ha provato a scrivere a tutti i proprietari che si sono succeduti in quei 10 anni, sapendo che ci doveva provare, ma pensava di non avere nessun tipo di speranza di farcela. Invece poi nel 2000 è riuscito ad avere l'ok per l'acquisto. Mark, a part of, I mean, the fantastic team you get there, because if we think about Jim or Duncan, I mean, they are really people that everyone was impressed to know to meet when they went when they went to Bruichladdich. But one of I think the biggest strength of the distillery in that years, and still is there, I think, even if the ownership is changed, is the strong relationship with the local community. So the open day, it's really an Isla gathering, more than for the other distillery, I think. And you start also, let's say, pushing for having local barley to get everything done locally, bottling, maturing. So I think you are the best person to describe which is the iliac spirit, and why. I mean, you are not from Isla, so how you get impressed by these guys working there, and how how you can describe the spirit of Isla?
Well, that's several questions. The easiest one, the spirit of Isla. Isla is an island that is historically important. From the Viking days, it was the main island that controlled the whole of the west coast of Scotland. It's greener than most of the islands. Our neighbor Jura can support no more than 200 people. Isla has 3,500. But its isolation means that there's this a magic to the place. Nobody can come and not feel the magic. I would argue there are prettier places in Scotland. There are more impressive places. But this has a unique magicness that draws you in. Any visitor gets pulled in. And it pulled me in. I'm still here. My son is still here. My wife. It's a very... if you're open to that sensitivity, it pulls you in. So that's the Isla magic. The physical nature of the island, the light, the luminosity, the wildness. We are right out in the Atlantic. The next stop is America. To the south, we have Ireland. In fact, 210 miles due south, we come to Waterford, but that's later in our story. you know you're in a wild place, and you get the beauty and the deer and the geese and the waves and the sea. It's a very, very powerful place to be. It's also a very soft place. It's very easy to live here. The community is obviously very close. You have to endure the winters, the long winters, which get made up for the long summers that we have. I mean, the sun won't set until after we've talked this evening. It won't set till 10 o'clock at night. So there's pluses and minuses on the weather. And then of course there's the why did we? The third part of your question is, why did we do what we did? Well, to me, it was very simple. That I want to make whiskey. I want to grow barley, because whiskey is made from barley. So we had to try and persuade farmers to grow barley, and that was very difficult because no one had done it since the First World War. And the climate is difficult up here. So the obvious thing was that we would distill our whiskey here. We'd try and grow the barley here. We would mature the whiskey here. The only people that do that, all of the whiskey here. And we would bottle the whiskey here. It says Islay on the label. So in my wine background, it should come from Islay. And so it was putting a flag in the sand to say, this is how whiskey could or should be made. And so as a result, we employed local farmers to grow barley. We, crofters that to work in bottling halls, fit young lads to work in the warehouses, and pretty girls to work in the shops, computer guys, IT guys. We became the biggest employer of the island, apart from the state, which in itself was a testament to show what you can do if you really want to do it. Multinational companies, well, they're looking for efficiencies. So most distilleries, you'll be disappointed to find, have a handful of people in them. All the other functions are done elsewhere. And my feeling was that that's not fair to the island, and it's not fair to the name of the island that you're putting on your label.
Thank you. Quindi gli ho chiesto...
Translate that. Off you go.
Gli ho chiesto chi meglio di lui può spiegare un po' lo spirito di Islay, col fatto anche che Bruichladdich è stata sicuramente la distilleria che ha coinvolto di più la comunità, e anche tuttora lo è, nonostante abbia cambiato proprietà. E lui dice che, vabbè, ci sono varie cose da considerare. La prima, che Islay è un'isola completamente diversa dalle altre, molto più verde, può, diciamo, trattenere e dare sostentamento a più di 3.000 persone, mentre Giura è molto più grande, ci ha avuto un po' che centinaia. C'è un clima fantastico d'estate, comunque è esposta verso l'Atlantico, ci sono delle giornate lunghissime, i paesaggi, la natura sono eccezionali, le persone fanno comunità, e quando si va là diciamo non si può non rimanere colpiti, e questo, diciamo, tutti quelli che ci sono stati lo possono confermare. La seconda cosa, dice che lui si è sentito, con il suo team, si è sentito in diritto di dovere, anzi, di fare in modo che è un Islay Whisky e fosse veramente un Islay Whisky, si potesse fare tutto sull'isola. È diventato la più grande azienda di Islay al di fuori dello Stato, impiega decine di persone in tutto il processo, ha creato anche un indotto, e quindi per lui, diciamo, che viene dal mondo del vino, è rimasto il tutto naturale il fatto che se c'era scritto Islay il prodotto dovesse essere 100% Islay. La produzione dell'orzo è stata molto difficile, il riavvio, nessuno coltivava più orzo dalla prima guerra mondiale, però diciamo che è stato un grande successo questo processo, e lui è molto contento di questa cosa qua. So we put this picture of Duncan for two reasons. One is because he was really a great man, and unfortunately he passed away a few months ago. And I have great memory of meeting him in the distillery, so it was really sad that this situation. But yeah, so 2 words on him. And I know also it's something that he told you something about the new adventure on Ireland related to the quality of barley as well.
Well, I think Duncan. So I'll start again. In your life, you come across a handful of people where that person really leaves a mark in your life. And Duncan's one of those people that I met and I just fell in love with. A lovely West Highland man, an Ilach, as they're called, a man from the island, who had worked at Bruichladdich since 1967. His hobby was repairing tractors, old tractors. He's an engineer. And he was the guy that was going to make this Victorian machinery work. And so his job was to get it all up and running again. And remember, this is very old machinery. Funny enough, when Bruichladdich was built in 1881, it was state of the art. It included 2 or 3 new ideas never tried before. One of them is anti-collapse valves on stills, which are now used everywhere. It was state of the art, as was Bunnahabhain, that was built the same year. And I think the testament to the design was that it still goes today, and it's still viable economically to run today as it was back in 1881. And Duncan's job with all those wonderful, very simple, very, very solid bits of machinery going. Of course, we had many discussions, but one of them, I got a picture here, I was going to show you. Can you see that? That's Duncan, me, and that's my son Rory filling the first barrel of whiskey that we ever made at Bruichladdich. And then I remember him telling me that the best barley he'd ever seen in 45 years of working at the distillery came from Ireland. And it came directly to the distillery. And I remember this. When eventually Remy Cointreau bought Bruichladdich, and I was twiddling my thumbs, wondering what to do, I thought, that Irish barley, we tried to show terroir with barley at Bruichladdich. It was very difficult to do. We didn't have the logistics. Quite often we didn't have the desire really, or the money to do it. But at Waterford, I had the chance to put it into action exactly as I wanted to do it from the very, very start. And it's all about the barley. And that's thanks to Duncan.
Ok, gli ho chiesto, vabbè, di Duncan, che è stato una delle persone più importanti del team di Bruichladdich, che lui dice che è è una persona che è mancata poco tempo fa, e per lui è stata una persona chiave, una delle persone che si ricorderà per sempre, una delle poche persone che può dire di aver segnato la sua vita, insomma, di essere rimasto molto nel cuore. Era un ingegnere, era capace di aggiustare qualsiasi cosa, e soprattutto si è preso cura di questa distilleria fondata nel 1881, che ai tempi della costruzione, assieme anche a Bunhaven, era all'avanguardia. È stata la prima ad adottare delle valvole per evitare che gli alambicchi collassassero, quindi che regolavano la pressione degli alambicchi, e quindi tuttora la distilleria funziona alla perfezione, è ancora, diciamo, economica, quindi è ancora redditizia, e quindi vuol dire, insomma, che l'avanguardia che c'era allora, grazie anche al lavoro di Duncan, è servito per portarla a questa situazione qua. Poi ha fatto vedere una foto di Duncan che riempie il primo barile di quando loro erano passati proprietari nel 2001, con suo figlio, col figlio di Mark, quindi un grosso legame tra di loro. E lui, quando poi ha dovuto, diciamo, vendere la distilleria, si è ricordato che Duncan gli diceva sempre che il miglior orzo arrivava dall'Irlanda, e quindi diciamo che il fatto che fosse molto difficile su Isla comunque creare un progetto di terroir al 100% per motivi economici e logistici, poi si è ritrovato, insomma, a andare in un posto che invece dove è riuscito a creare questo sogno legato al terroir. Mark, last question related to Bruichladdich before. Last two questions, let's say, related to Bruichladdich before we move to Waterford. One is if you can explain a bit the bet you did with Jim related to the X4 Spirit and the famous race car where you use the X4 as fuel. What happened really in reality? Who won the bet and what happened?
Well, I've got a picture of that somewhere. I'll try and find it. The X4 was, I found an old manuscript written in 1600 and something that talked about whiskey, Ushkava, but also treble distilled whiskey, which it called Trestaric, quadruple distilled whiskey, which was called Ushkava Vol. And I thought that's very interesting. I wonder what that's all about. And Ushkava Vol is Gallic for perilous whiskey, dangerous whiskey. And the tasting note that went with it was intriguing. It said that if any man had more than a teaspoon of this, his arms would start to shake, his breath, his chest would expand, and he risked death. And I remember saying to Jim, well, we got to give that a go. We got to try that. So we did. We distilled it, double distillation, roughly 70%, and then a third distillation to 80%. And then this dangerous fourth distillation that took it to 93% alcohol. It was fun. We did it for fun. Very, very pure whiskey, very, very clean whiskey. And I remember telling my board of directors about what we were doing. And one of them said, well, if it's as pure as you say it is, you ought to be able to run a race car engine And I just so happened to have my own race car. So we agreed to send him some of this X4. And with an engine, they got, I think it was 350 brake horsepower from it. And so, of course, the next thing to do was to put the engine in a car and drive it. So they sent the car up, and it happened to coincide with a visit from a journalist writing a book, a wine journalist, and a television, one of the guys from James May from the television. And so we got them in the car and filled it up with X4, and off they went like a rocket. And I have to say, it smelled really good.
Allora, gli ho chiesto del famoso distillato X4, quindi distillato 4 volte, cosa c'era dietro, una scommessa, insomma, c'era un po' di mistero dietro questa cosa qua, e dice che tutto nasce dal fatto di un manoscritto che lui ha trovato del XVII secolo, che parlava di questo whisky distillato 3 volte, che aveva delle caratteristiche abbastanza inquietanti, cioè il manoscritto diceva che un cucchiaino di questo whisky avrebbe fatto tremare le mani e gonfiare il petto, e in poco tempo, con quantità irrisorie, uno poteva morire. Quindi si sono messi lui e Jim a fare questo esperimento, sono riusciti a fare un distillato 4 volte che aveva più di 90 gradi, 93 dice, e quando sono andati al board of director a spiegare questa cosa qua, uno del board gli ha detto: ma a questo punto, se è così puro e così a gradazione così alta, vi sfido a far funzionare un motore di una macchina da corsa. Quindi hanno montato questo motore da 350 cavalli su una macchina da corsa, erano presenti dei giornalisti anche, e sono riusciti a farla andare, e ha detto anche che il profumo che emanava era molto piacevole. Then, last question about Brudladik. A bit of insider, I guess now you don't have much, let's say, non-disclosure after so much time. So what happened when Reynier arrived? Which was the mood between the board? I know that you were a bit against. I mean, you vote against the takeover, right?
That was one of the worst periods of my life. I mean, every year we would get somebody wanting to buy the company, and every year we told them to go away. And then this one time, Remy got in touch, and they did it in a way that we couldn't tell them to go away. And so the board agreed to talk to Remy about them buying the distillery. And it came down to a vote. And I have to say, it was a very, very sad moment for me, because we'd all agreed, the management had all agreed that we were on a path, we had a job to do, we had a program to follow, a plan in place, we were all enjoying it. And sadly, I think the money talked to my colleagues, and in the end we had a vote, and I was the only person out of 8 people to not want to sell, or certainly at that time. So I was outvoted, and it was a very sad occasion, and it cost me some very good friendships. And yeah, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's it's a work that we were putting in place. It was my project. I put it together, I brought all these people together. I arranged all the finance and the shareholding, the shareholders. It was my strategy. It was my dream. It was my vision. And to have someone pull the rug from under your feet is not a very pleasant feeling.
Yeah, but by the way, you were reaching the break even 2 years in advance, right? You were supposed to get in 12 years,
Oh, sure.
and you get in 10. Yeah.
No. We broke even in 2004.
2004. Wow.
We were making
Ok.
£2 million a year. Yeah.
Ok, allora gli ho chiesto qualche dettaglio sul passaggio a Remy, e come avete visto anche dalla sua espressione è stato un passaggio molto doloroso. Ha detto che è stato il passaggio più doloroso della sua vita, perché lui era contrario, è stato l'unico dei 9 del board a votare contro. Avevano un progetto ben definito, avevano, diciamo, erano già in crescita, addirittura avevano raggiunto il pareggio nel 2004, io pensavo dopo, guadagnavano circa 2 milioni all'anno, e per anni hanno rifiutato delle offerte che arrivavano, e lui non si aspettava che poi alla fine invece si accettasse l'offerta di Remy, e gli è costata molto, perché era stato lui l'iniziatore del progetto, a mettere assieme tutte le persone. Gli è costata anche qualche amicizia, quindi diciamo che è stato l'episodio più doloroso sicuramente della sua carriera, perché era convinto, insomma, che ci sarebbe stato spazio per fare ancora meglio, e c'era un grande piano di espansione. Okay, Mark. Now let's forget this sad moment, and let's cross the sea. You said Waterford, it's about 200 miles from Islay, on the other side of the sea. So you get this sparkle from Duncan about barley, and then, by the way, what happened? Yes.
Ireland. You keep going down and you come to Waterford.
So
what happened
then? Yeah.
Well, first of all, what I would say is Remy Cointreau, if anyone was going to buy Bruichladdich, Remy Cointreau are just the right people to do it. So despite everything, they are the right people. So I suppose we can sit here with pride and thinking that, having resurrected Bruichladdich, it's in very, very safe hands for the future. And that's a satisfying thought. Anyhow, Waterford, Guinness Brewery have had 5 breweries, and one of them was in Waterford on the south coast of Ireland. Exactly 180 degrees due south from this house on Islay, 210 miles. If you walk straight down there, 210 miles, you get your feet wet, but you arrive at Waterford on the south coast of Ireland. It's a port. It was very important in the past. It's a bit behind the times now. But Guinness, on a site of a brewery that had been there since 1782, built a very modern Guinness brewery in 2004. State of the art again. Lots of stainless steel, lots of very clever bits of kit. And of course, state of the art 2004 is very different to state of the art 1881 of Bruichladdich. So it struck me as being quite simple to bring the whiskey element, the stills, the copper, to the stainless steel of Guinness. And so a lot of the same shareholders of Bruichladdich supported me in buying the brewery, which Guinness had shut down in 2014. So we had a production facility, a very fancy one, and we're in the heart of the best barley in the world. And that's what I wanted to explore. So we were able to set up and follow on some of the experiments that we put in place at Bruichladdich right from the beginning. So we set it up, and it's the logistics which is the key. The barley harvest is a month long. So what we wanted to do was keep each farm's barley separate. So we built a huge, we call it a cathedral of barley with bins for each farm. So each farm has its own bin. 40 farms each year where the barley is dried, harvested, dried, and stored in the cathedral. And then we can call on farm by farm to malt the barley and then distill it and put it into barrel. So a logistics system that has never been seen before, we put in place so that we would have the traceability of farm, terroir, distillation, whiskey into the barrel. And that's what we're going to be releasing. We're bottling them, in fact, tomorrow, believe it or not. Tomorrow, the first bottlings of these single farm origins.
Ok, gli ho chiesto poi come si è mosso dal passaggio di Reynier a Bruichladdich nel progetto successivo. Vabbè, ci ha tenuto a dire che sicuramente se doveva passare di mano Bruichladdich certamente è passata secondo lui nel miglior modo possibile a un'azienda che comunque sta continuando abbastanza il lavoro che ha iniziato lui. E dice che si è presentata l'occasione e anche alcuni dei vecchi finanziatori di Bruichladdich hanno partecipato di acquisire un impianto moderno, quindi un'ex fabbrica della Guinness abbastanza in nuova costruzione, quindi all'inizio degli anni 2000, quindi una fabbrica nuova. Dice che ovviamente c'è una differenza tra una roba del 2004 e una del 1881, molto acciaio, molta tecnologia, ed è stato naturale trasformarla in una distilleria. In più si trova in un posto logisticamente perfetto perché è la migliore area, secondo lui, del mondo per produrre orzo. Diciamo, la mietitura dura circa un mese, riescono a raccogliere ogni singolo fattoria, ogni singolo raccolto di circa 40 fattorie in questo cattedrale dove ci sono questi contenitori dove vengono tenuti completamente separati, quindi una cosa che non è mai stata fatta prima. E domani ci sarà il primo imbottigliamento di single farm, quindi è molto eccitato da questa cosa, e quindi ha potuto iniziare da zero qualcosa che comunque aveva già pensato anche a Bruichladdich. Mark, let's still talk about the grains or the barley. First, a consideration that I have to say, preparing this conversation, I realized that even if the whiskey and especially the single malt is done with the barley, most of the distilleries website doesn't have any image of the barley, while in Waterford website it's mainly probably 95% of the pictures are related to barley. Okay, so this is the first consideration. So that's really unique, I have to say. Second part, I see that you are using, at least in some sample I've seen, some barley breed that differs a bit from the one used normally in the last years in Scotland, like Concerto and Odyssey. Is there a specific reason?
Gosh, well, the first part of your question is a very simple one. Whiskey's flavor comes, or rather, I'll rephrase that. Malt whiskey's flavor comes from malted barley, which is why we don't use corn, maize, wheat, oats, rye. We use barley because it produces the most complex flavor compounds of any spirit in the world. So it's not rocket science. If you're interested in whiskey, if you're interested in flavor, you shouldn't be looking at the barrels and the water and the stills. You should be looking at the barley. And I'm just astounded that nobody's bothered to look at the barley. It's a commodity for the industry. They buy it wherever it's cheapest. It's about yield, price, not about flavor. And coming from a wine background, I know very well that vineyards and vines grow very differently depending on the microclimate and the soil, the topography. And it struck me at Bruichladdich that it can be no different for barley. Surely it's another plant. Farmers know it, gardeners know it. They just don't call it terroir. They call it gardening and they call it farming. And so knowing that it made a difference from our experiments at Bruichladdich, it was no surprise to find that with 40 farms, it was a question of proving that it's the terroir and not the distillation process or whatever. And that's where the logistics comes in. Having total traceability that we know and you will know exactly how that whiskey was made and where it came from, how it was grown, where it was grown, what the soil types were, how it fermented, how it was distilled, all that information. Because I can tell you, this whiskey came from that field, but you don't know. And remember, the whiskey industry is bullshit. It's been built up on it. So traceability is, for us, not a luxury. It's an essential. We have to be able to prove what we're saying. And that's, again, is not enough. We have to then show you. So transparency. So we have, and you might find this difficult to translate if you get this far anyhow, what we call the Waterford equation, which is real provenance, not just bullshit, but real provenance. You have to have a terroir. You have to be able to prove that you've got that terroir, logistics, and then you've got to be able to demonstrate it, show it, which is transparency. So we have provenance, true provenance equals terroir times traceability over transparency.
Sì, lui ci ha tenuto a dire che ovviamente è abbastanza strano il fatto che nessuno parli dell'orzo quando alla fine ovviamente il whisky di malto è fatto con l'orzo, e l'orzo dà delle caratteristiche uniche al distillato di complessità, di aromi che non trovano uguali. Quindi lui, mentre diciamo l'industria ovviamente cerca di comprare l'orzo al miglior prezzo e l'orzo che gli dia il miglior yield, la migliore resa alcolica, loro stanno cercando di fare qualcosa di completamente diverso, tracciare ogni singolo lotto di orzo, dire da che parte viene, quindi legarlo al terroir attraverso poi alla tracciabilità. Ovviamente non ci sarebbe alcuna credibilità nel progetto se lui non fosse in grado di dimostrare che quel singolo lotto arriva da quella fattoria e è fatto in un certo modo. Ecco, questa è la sua l'equazione che diceva, la provenienza, terroir più tracciability e la trasparenza. Quindi sono questi 4 fattori che danno il risultato finale, e anche questo diciamo gioco di parole che usano terroir, quindi utilizzando la sigla della Repubblica d'Irlanda, quindi legando anche ovviamente al fatto del whisky irlandese. Mark, so we talk about barley, but I didn't talk about how is malted. You have a special malting equipment. You are thinking somehow to move
No,
to
we don't.
floor malted.
No. That's folklore. That's Hollywood. Malting is a very precise, or should be a very precise art. Floor malting looks lovely. It's very romantic, but you don't have the control that you need. We use a company called Minch Malt, which is very central to where our farms are located. And there we have, it's a huge malting, but they've got tucked away in a corner a small bobby malting, which we use exclusively. So it's just right. That's why we use 100 tons of barley, because that's what we need to fill the malting machinery. So 40 farms times 100 tons each. So that's actually the determining factor of what we distill. So each farm produces the equivalent of roughly 200 barrels of whiskey, and that's because it's the minimum volume we can use in the small malting house.
Sì, gli ho chiesto del malting, quindi molta attenzione all'orzo. Cosa dice del malting? Dice che il floor malting è molto bello, ma è molto poco controllabile. Loro utilizzano una malteria perfettamente adatta alle loro esigenze. Ogni farm, ogni fattoria produce circa 100 tonnellate di orzo, che è esattamente la quantità che il malting riesce a produrre. Questi 100 tonnellate producono 200 barili di whisky, quindi hanno tutta diciamo la filiera a misura di queste 40 fattorie, e quindi si trovano perfettamente allineati con questo processo anche da un punto di vista logistico. La malteria sta proprio al centro della produzione. Oh, nice view. So Mark, let's back a bit.
The sun is just setting there.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Just setting. Yeah.
A bit back on boring technical details. So you took over a brewery that was really modern, and you get also some fancy stuff that normal distilleries doesn't have. For instance, mesh filters, and also refrigerated washback.
Correct.
So what's
Yes.
the good thing of this machineries related to Bruichladdich that was 8081?
Well, distillation hasn't changed. It's the same. So you'd be surprised. Most of the machinery is exactly the same. But the one thing we have is a hydro mill and a mash filter. Now, it's turned out, I would like to say it was planned, but it wasn't. It's something we've discovered, that the mash filter, which is designed for brewing efficiency, actually, for us, works as a terroir extractor. It's a much more effective method of getting the wort out of the mash. So it's turned out to be very, very useful to us. It's like a concentrated mash tun, automated, like a series of long, about 50 pneumatic presses. You've seen a wine press, a pneumatic press that blows a balloon to squeeze the grapes. Well, it's the same principle, except there's about 50 of them in sequence. So it really does extract every last drop of flavor out of the mash. So it's not, the way we're running it, it's not particularly efficient, but it's just very useful because it gives us more extraction than you'd normally get.
Sì, gli ho chiesto del fatto che comunque comprando un impianto molto moderno si sia trovato delle macchine, dei macchinari che normalmente in distillerie non ci sono, nemmeno in quelle più vecchie. Uno di questi è il mash filter, quindi hanno un mulino che produce un macinato perfetto per questo tipo di sistema, quindi su una serie di filtri dove il mosto viene messo dentro a pressione, e dice che alla fine non è stata pensata, ma secondo lui comunque gli ha dato dei vantaggi. Trovano che il mash filter comunque sia un ottimo estrattore di terroir, secondo la sua definizione, e quindi di fatto gli abbia creato comunque un vantaggio involontario e si trovino sicuramente ad avere un apparato che, anche se non viene utilizzato al massimo della sua efficienza, sicuramente gli ha dato dei grossi benefici. Mark, and then let's move to fermentation. So also here you choose to go back to long fermentation, right? So it was more than 100 hours. You choose from the beginning, or you
can
studied?
do that from the beginning because we have temperature control. Being a brewery, we've got so many, an embarrassment of vats, and they're all glycol cooled. So, as with the great wine, we all know that you can have, like in the old days, a very fast fermentation because they couldn't control the heat. The heat rises, fermentation occurs, and it's all over, wham, bam, very quick. And you get pretty robust flavors and colors as a result. And it was sort of in the sort of 70s and 80s, really, that thanks to the Americans and the Australian wine schools, the idea of cooling fermentations to control that rise of temperature and a bit like your Coriolanus thing, to extend to stop it getting too heated too quickly, to extend the fermentation. You can do that by cooling the the vats down. And of course, with this wonderful system in place, and all the vats in the world that you could possibly need, we are able to cool and control and extend the fermentation to get purer flavors. That's what it's about, purity.
Sì, gli ho chiesto la fermentazione anche collegandosi alla domanda che gli ho fatto prima, quindi ci sono ritrovati dei fermentatori, una quantità imbarazzante di fermentatori d'acciaio controllati con la temperatura controllata. Lui dice che ovviamente venendo dal mondo del vino questa cosa qua per lui era abbastanza normale, è stata comunque un'introduzione, la fermentazione controllata a temperatura è stata introdotta soprattutto dagli australiani e dai neozelandesi, e questo gli permette di avere delle fermentazioni molto lunghe e controllate, quindi evitare che i lieviti si stressino, quindi tirare fuori quelli che sono gli esteri più puri, meno stressati rispetto a fermentazioni non controllate dove la temperatura tende ad andare fuori controllo e ovviamente è anche influenzata dall'ambiente. Do you have a particular yeast there, or it's normal distiller yeast as others use?
I don't know what I've done. I've lost you. Are you still there?
Yes. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Well, it's okay.
Oh, there
I'm
you are.
not
Right.
so
Okay.
beautiful.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
that's right.
yeah, about yeast.
Yeast.
About
yeast.
yeast.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't use a bespoke yeast yet. We're going to do more experiments with yeast next year. What we've been trying to do up to now is to concentrate on the terroir flavors. And so therefore we've tried to keep everything as regularized as we can. Of course, each farm, each harvest, it gives us a different result. We have to malt it differently. We have to distill it and mash it differently. So we're trying to concentrate on those elements first. And then when we've mastered that, then we'll start exploring with yeast. As it stands, we use a combination of 3 different varieties, but we keep it standard from day one to now. We're not experimenting with the yeast yet.
Sì, gli ho chiesto se usano dei ceppi particolari di lieviti, mi ha detto di no, miscelano 3 ceppi di lieviti diversi, gli piacerebbe fare qualcosa di diverso, ma adesso si stanno concentrando nel mantenere il processo controllabile e concentrarsi principalmente sulla materia prima e sul terroir. Then let's move quickly to distillation. So the stills has some connection to Bruladic, I guess, because they comes from a distillery that you use at
And
some
Duncan,
point
yeah.
also with Duncan. So you do
Yes,
so
stills.
it comes from Inverleven, right?
That's right, which was in 2003. We were tipped off by a demolition expert called Demolition Dave, who, funnily enough, is a shareholder in Waterford, about a job he was doing on the Clyde, which was to destroy and demolish the old Dumbarton whiskey facility. And in amongst this mass of buildings was the little known Inverleven single malt whiskey facility. Now, oddly enough, it's not a normal distillery like you imagine. It was a vertical distillery shoehorned in between these different buildings. So it was vertically integrated. Ugly as hell, horrible place. But when we were given 2 weeks to take what we wanted, we sent down Duncan and the boys with screwdrivers and basically dismantled everything we could take and put on a barge. And 2 of those things were the stills. One of them, Ugly Betty, is being used for gin at Bruichladdich. And the other 2, which I had my eye on, we were able to convince Remy Cointreau to sell us. And we shipped them back to Forsyths to be renovated. They were built in 1972. And then shipped out to Waterford. So these stills have been on the Clyde at Inverleven, and then we took them by boat to Islay, where they stood outside the distillery for the best part of 10 years. And then from there, we shipped them to Waterford. So they've traveled quite a lot.
Sì, gli ho chiesto degli alambicchi, legame con Bruichladdich, perché arrivano dalla distilleria di Dumbarton, quindi famosa per Inverleven. Erano stati contattati da un demolitore che adesso è anche socio nella sua avventura a Waterford, per andare a smantellare le cose che c'erano dentro la distilleria. Quindi Duncan e un gruppo di operai sono andati là per smontare tutto lo smontabile. E alla fine si sono portati via gli alambicchi, trasportati via nave dal Clyde ad Islay. Uno dei famosi alambicchi l'Ugly Betty viene utilizzato per il gin, quindi l'Hammond Still, mentre i 2 pot still normali sono stati rimessi a posto dalla Forsyths e poi spediti in Irlanda. Erano del 1972, quindi erano piuttosto vecchi, sono stati acquisiti dalla Reynier e ora sono funzionanti. Is there any particular things around distillation? Is slow distillation? Is it, or it's something?
Yeah, of course. Distillation is relatively straightforward. It's relatively easy, despite what everybody tells you that it's an art and it's mysterious. And no, it isn't. It's pretty straightforward. And of course, you can run stills hard and fast, or you can run them slow and gentle. And since we're in no hurry, we've got plenty of space, got plenty of room. We do it slow and gentle. And I've always found that with Bruichladdich, and the slow distillation it just feels right. We're in no hurry. We're not trying to, we don't have narratives. We're not, Diageo. We can take our time, so we do.
Sì, gli ho chiesto se c'è qualcosa di particolare sulla distillazione. Lui dice che alla fine sulla distillazione c'è molta retorica, ma secondo lui è una cosa molto lineare, non ci sono cose particolari. Loro fanno una distillazione abbastanza lenta, non hanno nessun tipo di pressione nel produrre grandi quantità. Ovviamente le quantità dei farmer sono quelle, quindi non è che possono spingere oltre. Quindi non ci sono cose strane che c'è da menzionare, insomma, una cosa abbastanza normale. I did my homework, so I tried 2 of the new make I've received from you guys. So one is Bloomsland and the other one is The Rocks. So it's more than 70%. And I tried just to understand if what you are telling now it's marketing, or is it true that 2 different farms and 2 different, let's say, areas and soils get can create two different kind of profiles. And I would say I'm quite convinced about that, because I have to say that I would say quite totally different. Okay. So I
Yeah.
will not go too much into the tasting notes. I played a bit with water and so on. But I think the rocks, it play most around green banana, flowers, vanilla, sugar, and so on. Bloomsland, for me, it's a bit more pungent, more white chocolate, cocoa. It's more creamy. Yes, some pistachios and matcha teas notes. Maybe you get something different, but I would say that in any case, they are really different. Okay.
That's all we're trying to
Yeah,
say. Are they the same? Are they the same,
no,
or are they different?
no.
And a lot of people will say, well, you can make them different. You can change this, you can change that, and blah, blah. Yeah, of course. But we're going to give you all the details so you can see that they're distilled exactly the same way. So the only difference is the terroir. I've got
Silvio,
something to show you here. I don't know if you can see that this is confidential, so I shouldn't really be showing you this. It's part of a project that we're doing with the Irish government and Dr. Dustin Herb, because I understand that I can tell you that this is all about terroir, and you can go, oh yeah, it's all just marketing bullshit. So I have to prove it to you. So we did 3 years ago, we started the first ever terroir proving project. Believe it or not, no one has scientifically proved it before. Everybody just takes it for granted. So we commissioned the first ever project on this basis with the Irish government, with the greatest whiskey chemist in Scotland, the Bort malt in Belgium, the maltsters, the Cork University, and the latest gas chromatography mass spectrum machinery, which hasn't existed up to this point, this degree of complexity. So we can, for the first time, not only show scientific analysis that shows the different flavor compounds, we can also match it to smell, to sensory perception. This is the first time ever. And so you end up with graphs like,
Yes.
See that? All right.
Yes. Yes.
That's 3 different terroirs: yellow, blue, and green. And what it's showing you is that if you have a sandy soil, you end up with more floralness. If you have an alluvial, clay-rich soil, you end up with more spice. And if you have a limestone-based soil, you end up with more malty flavors.
Allora,
If you then take, oh, sorry, I was. I can carry on if you want.
No, go on.
Well, if you take this is one of the terroirs, and 3 different years, 3 different harvests, and you can see that there are harvest differences too. And this is from soil nutrients and the microclimate, but more or less more or less it's the same. Yeah. This is all part of a project. This is another one there again where you can see the annual harvest differences, but more or less the same trace.
Yeah.
So this all forms part of a presentation that is going to be peer reviewed. It will be part of the distillers and brewers convention. This will be the first time it's actually been proven to exist. A lot of the big guys don't want it to be true. They want it to be ignored because they don't want to go there. They don't want to talk about it. I do, because I know that's where the flavor is. And I find it really, really interesting. And so Waterford is all about making whiskey, single malt whiskey, for people that are curious. They don't just want the same old, same old. They've got a brain, they've got a head, they want to know. They're not stupid. If it's barley that makes the most provocative, most profound whiskey in the world, well, surely where it grows, how it grows, who grows it, must make a difference. But the whiskey industry don't want you to don't go there. They don't want you to talk about it. No, don't worry yourself. Don't just take what we give you. Well, I don't believe that. I want people to know, and it's not. If you're a wine lover, it makes common sense. It's entirely natural. People from the wine side understand it easily, readily. But I know for a lot of people, it is a bit unusual. Yeah, sure. It perhaps isn't for you. This is for people that are curious. They just want to know. They want to compare. They want to contrast. They don't want to just have the same thing day in, day out. This is taking whiskey to an altogether different level.
Allora, gli ho detto che ho assaggiato un paio di campioni che mi sono arrivati di New Make, di 2 fattorie diverse. Ho voluto provare quello che mi stava raccontando e devo dire con tutta onestà che i 2 prodotti sono completamente diversi. Arrivano da una stessa annata, 2017, stessa varietà di orzo, ovviamente stessa distilleria, New Make, più o meno stessa gradazione, e sono 2 profili completamente diversi. Uno è più dolce, più tenente al fruttato, l'altro tende più a note di cioccolato bianco, cacao, note anche di tè verde. Lui dice che per la prima volta nella storia è stato fatto uno studio sul terroir utilizzando delle tecniche molto avanzate, uno spettografo dell'ultima generazione, quindi il terroir è sempre stato dato per un dato di fatto, e lui è riuscito a dimostrare che il suolo diverso dà caratteristiche diverse al whisky, quindi in base al fatto che sia sabbioso, calcareo o argilloso, può dare caratteristiche diverse di floreale, più verso il malto o altre caratteristiche. Sono riusciti a mapparlo in quell'immagine che ci ha fatto vedere, che è un'immagine, diciamo, che ancora non è stata diffusa perché sarà presentata a una conferenza, e ovviamente questo tipo di studi ha creato qualche malumore, qualche mal di pancia alle multinazionali, che in realtà ovviamente non sono interessate a questo tipo di offerta, perché tendono ovviamente a massimizzare la produzione e il profitto, e quindi questo tipo di cose non sono particolarmente apprezzate. Quindi lui in realtà vuole che il whisky che producono vada alle persone curiose che usano il cervello e vogliono provare qualcosa di diverso. Mark, time is running, but we have so many questions. The the things also that are a bit different. It's the way the composition of the wood you have there. So I've seen that you use virgin oak, you use first fill, American oak, you use French, you use fortified wine combination. How you reach this kind of combination, and if you would like to stick on it, or you will change, you are thinking also something different?
We've altered the percentages slightly. But generally speaking, wood is very important, but it's the first thing that goes when the accountant gets involved because of the cost. And that's one of the reasons why most whiskey is matured in barrels that are frankly tired, dull, uninteresting. But hey, who cares when you chill filter the stuff and you add E150? Who cares? I, again, from a wine background, understand and experience the evolution of premium oaks during the 80s and 90s. And so I applied that to Bruichladdich, and it was very, very interesting. Everybody said we were mad to do it, but now everyone's doing it. And at the start with Bruichladdich, we went through all the good barrels first, and then we ended up with some barrels which were really pretty tired. So we decanted them into fresh wood, and we got very good at it, understanding the influence between the whiskey, its age, and what wood it could handle, it could support. It's a science, it's an art. Sadly, it's been abused by other people. Finishes here, finishes there, which are really no more than a marketing excuse. A fancy name here, a fancy name there. And it's really an excuse for not having a very good wood policy. So with Waterford, we realized there are no shortcuts. And if you want to do it properly, you've got to have a really good wood policy. And so the way we structured Waterford allowed me to start from day one with the perfect wood policy. There's no compromise, none whatsoever. It's about 30% of our cost of production is the wood, an astronomical sum. So we have about 20% virgin American, which gives you the creme brulee, the vanilla-y flavors. We have about 20% virgin French from Limousin, which gives you a sort of buttered toast sort of flavors, clovey-like flavors. We then have about 40% first fill American, about 30%. I'm not adding this all up, but 30% first fill French. And remember, it's not for the wine; it's for the wood. It's the quality of the wood. French oak is very different to American oak. And then the remainder, 10% or whatever, is what we call fortified wine, vin doux naturel, things like reed salt and Banyuls, Madeira. It used to be sherry, but sherry barrels now are so bad that they're just a fiction. So we've looked elsewhere for fortified wines, and that gives a bit of sweetness, a bit of color. So virgin oak gives color, as well as the vanilla-iness from the American. So it's having a collection of these things, and so each farm, 200 barrels per farm, goes into exactly the same proportions of wood. So each farm is a standalone bottling in its own right, But of course, these single farm origins are actually stepping stones. They are individual components which we will assemble flavor upon flavor upon flavor upon flavor to create the definitive Waterford bottling. We call it a cuvée, another wine term. And that's the goal. That's the what we're aiming at, which is this ultra complex Waterford whiskey, a grand vin made up of 40 or 50 petit vins, these single farm origins, stacked for extra flavor. That's the strategy. That's the goal. But you'll have to wait a bit for that.
So the bottling you are doing tomorrow, it's a single origin still.
It's single farms tomorrow.
Yeah.
Single farms.
Ok, allora gli ho chiesto della politica del legno, dice che ovviamente avevano acquisito una grande esperienza a Bruichladdich, dove avevano trovato anche tante botti piuttosto stanche e avevano dovuto travasarle, quindi hanno imparato molto non solo sui classici botti ex bourbon, ma anche su botti vergini americane, francesi, vini fortificati al di fuori dello sherry, dove adesso dice si trova qualità molto bassa per il fatto che comunque sono botti che vengono create appositamente, quindi normalmente hanno una composizione di legni circa un 30-35% di first fill American, 20% di American nuovo, 25% circa di French, rimanente, quindi 10-20% in base alle volte di quello che chiamano Veden, che quindi sono i vini fortificati. Il loro obiettivo a medio termine è quello di fare una cuvée di queste farm, quindi queste 40 o 50 che diverranno, quindi sul modello dei Grand Vin francesi che vengono, diciamo, assemblati attraverso quelli che vengono chiamati Petit Vin, che sarebbero appunto i single farm. Questo, diciamo, è l'obiettivo finale, creare il prodotto, diciamo, più complesso che sia stato mai creato nel mondo del whisky. Progetto ambizioso. Mark, I would like to close a bit with some question also related to the new project you are working with, that is something similar but not on the cold. This is the bottling.
Sorry, right, there you go. Yep.
I've seen the label. Is there a specific reason why you wrote whiskey in the Scotch way and not in the Irish way without the E?
Well, it leans more to Scottish double distillation. Legally, whiskey or whiskey with an E, both are legal. It can be either or. And I just chose whiskey without an E because it seems to me to be more what we're doing. It's a serious single malt whiskey. I don't know really. That's all.
Sì, ha fatto vedere la bottiglia che verrà messa sul mercato. Gli ho chiesto come mai sull'etichetta ha scritto whisky invece che whisky all'irlandese. Dice che ovviamente sono tutti e due ammessi, ma la filosofia della distilleria con doppia distillazione e single malt di alta qualità ha preferito, diciamo, mettere un legame con il nome del single malt scozzese. So this is the bottling you do tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
How many bottles will be released?
It's about 3,000.
Ok. 3.000 bottiglie saranno rilasciate sul mercato. Then you have the special bottling for the official opening of
the pilgrimage. Yeah, exactly.
the pilgrimage.
There were thousands of those. Yeah.
Quindi poi per diciamo era in programma di
But those
fare
have all gone.
questo evento.
Those have all. Yeah.
Yeah, they are gone, right.
Those
Questo
are the
evento
people that turn up to the distillery.
Yeah. Quindi c'era l'apertura ufficiale, diciamo, della distilleria, del primo imbottigliamento, il pilgrimage, che era in programma in queste settimane, ma poi slittato, sono state tutte già vendute, anche se l'evento è stato spostato più avanti. So back to the second project that you are running in Caribbean. So same philosophy but different spirit. Can you tell us the Grenada project?
Yeah, well, it's came around the same time as thinking about Waterford, which was I've been bottling rum for a number of years, and a bit like with Murray McDavid, I was finding that barrels were getting harder to find. So it's almost an identical story. So I thought I would try and find a distillery a rum distillery to buy, like Bruichladdich was for whiskey. But again, I looked and looked and I couldn't find anything that I wanted to buy or anything that looked like it was worth buying. In fact, it was really sad looking at these awful distilleries, terribly maintained, really dirty, smelly, horrendously engineered. And it became clear that I would have to build my own. So using my experience of Bruichladdich and the experience of Waterford and the engineers that we've met, we designed from the ground up a totally new distillery that's as avant-garde as Waterford, as inspirational as Bruichladdich, a real game changer of a distillery, environmentally compliant, designed specifically to distill terroir by terroir, field by field, with a view to laying down stocks that we can imbue with flavor from the terroirs, and which we can then assemble together to create a real mindfuck of a flavor. That's what we're looking to do. So it's a real out on a limb project. It's been very hard to do, very, very difficult. We've had all sorts of problems and difficulties, and it's been an absolute blood, sweat, and tears. But we are almost there. About 2-3 weeks from distilling, and that will be something I'm very proud of.
Sì, gli ho chiesto dell'altro progetto ai
Hopefully the rum
Caraibi,
will be good too.
gli ho chiesto dell'altro progetto dei Caraibi della distilleria Renegade a Grenada, e dice che l'idea gli è venuta nello stesso periodo di Waterford, anche perché ai tempi di Murray McDavid aveva problemi a trovare barili, e l'altra cosa che l'aveva molto colpito è che visitando le distillerie ai Caraibi, molte delle quali erano in condizioni tecniche e anche di igiene o di pulizia molto precarie, quindi gli è venuta l'idea comunque di costruirsi una sua distilleria allo stato dell'arte, quindi al massimo, eccola, della tecnologia, del rispetto ambientale. È stata una faticaccia, molto molto difficile, cioè pensate che è partito nello stesso periodo, ma riuscirà a distillare per la prima volta fra circa 3 settimane. L'idea è appunto di utilizzare anche il terroir, di fare un rum buono in un posto dedicato appunto alla coltivazione della canna a zucchero, e quindi insomma è l'altro suo progetto che sta seguendo. Mark, I'm going, I think, to do the last question myself. I think that that we are in, especially in some part of the world that could be US and Ireland too. There is a lot of micro distillers that are starting, so sizing is different from yours. What do you think about that? You find some interesting projects? You think it's a positive stuff? You find someone following similar approach that you are using it?
I mean, I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm trying to achieve. I tend to focus on what I'm doing. There's always people doing other things. I'm sure there must be some very good guys out there. But I think personally, I find if you know where you're going, you know what your goal is, I get on with it. And I tend to not look to see what other people do. There's always people that follow this, they copy that, they do this, they do that. If you worry about it all, you'd never get anywhere. So I tend to just go for it.
Sì, gli ho chiesto un'opinione sull'ondata microdistillerie. Dice, sicuramente ci sono delle distillerie che stanno lavorando bene, però il mio modo di essere è di concentrarmi sulle mie cose, sull'obiettivo, e non è detto che debba avere un'opinione su qualcun altro per forza. Claudio?
Mark, I almost lost you.
Yes.
When you said peerless whiskey, just talking about the X4 and the collection, the internet quality went down, so I decided just to leave your webcam and stop showing the pictures. I will do some editing tomorrow and I'll show you the video. Okay, so the quality from Isla was not that good. So thank you very much for your time. I don't know, from Porna Heaven, not from Isla.
Well, yeah, and thank you guys, and Davide, that's very, very good translation. Well done, man.
How do you know?
I picked up enough words today. It sounded pretty good.
Ok.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I tried.
Grazie Davide. Vabbè, avete capito, c'è stato un crollo della qualità di internet, ho preferito lasciare tutto all'immagine di Mark, poi ci infilo dentro un po' di foto domani e pubblico il video completo, ma quello che si doveva vedere è stato visto e le parole che ha detto Mark sono state fantastiche. Wow!
That's where I'm living. That's where
Wow.
it's my cows, and that's my house. That's where I'm talking to you from. Okay.
I'm missing that.
So if you have a quite wide table, we can come for dinner sometimes, okay?
You are very welcome.
Casa Italia, Porna Heaven.
We'll eat one of those cows. We'll eat one of those cows.
Okay. Okay.
Grazie.
You're very welcome.
Grazie Marco.
Grazie.
I'll call you tomorrow. Ciao.
Ciao.
Okay. Buonasera.
Ciao.